We're a tiny company of 5 people. I'm like the only tech guy building this. Like we've built this completely with AI first, and it's been quite the journey. I started this a little bit more than 6 months ago, and we're in production now with enterprise. So yeah, it's like AI makes everything possible. So yeah, what this product is about is it's helping simulate leadership decisions in difficult situations. So like let's assume like there's a typhoon in a factory in India. Like what does management do? How do they deal with these situations? How do they deal when their colleague is shouting at them, angry at them? How do you react to this? So it's about like really simulating these scenarios, making it realistic. And yeah, the idea is that you role play with these AI voice agents. And yeah, the important part here is that the transcript is really the assessment input. So it's like really important that the quality of this is accurate, because it's used for hiring and development decisions in these companies. But yeah, maybe I can give you a very short demo just so you have an idea of what this looks like. I should have been here. All right. All right, so it starts by like introducing how all of this works. This is not the interesting part. The first part is that it just checks with the voice agent that you can hear it and everything. This part we can also skip. Then it introduces you into the context. So here it's explaining they sold, like a ticketing company sold tickets for a concert, and then suddenly they had a hack and tickets started disappearing shortly before the launch. And now it's like, what do you do? Like a journalist is calling you now all of a sudden, and you have to react to that.
Hi, here. I'm a technology reporter at the Chicago News. I'm calling because we're about to publish a story about the Dragons ticketing hack. Do you have a minute?
Sure.
People are telling me their tickets are literally disappearing after they've purchased them. I have screenshots and emails from ticket buyers. Has your system been compromised?
We're still investigating what exactly happened.
I understand.
Okay, you get the idea of it.
From what you know,
Let's try. So quickly. It works.
So yeah, that's what it is about. And yeah, what's been the journey with the picking a voice agent provider? So we first started with VAPI. It's like a startup. They have more than 100 people. So we assumed they know what they're doing, but they're clearly not. Like, it's cowboys running ops. Like, we found out after running this in production, like they posted in the Discord channel, hey, by the way, guys, if you're using us in production, you better set this flag here so you don't run on our nightly dev server. And like we had lots of issues. Like support was not responsive, and they also didn't want to sell us an enterprise support. So yeah, it was a mess. So then we switched to this company, 11 Labs. They're much bigger, multi-billion company. They're shipping very fast, but the quality also suffers. So you can see they also use AI a lot. Like it's crazy what they ship, how fast, but yeah, we also have seen our issues. So kind of the status quo seems to be like you just have to expect issues when working with voice agents at this point. But at least we have an enterprise channel there now. So what's been the issues that we're having? So the core part is the transcript. So it's a big issue if the user is answering something and the agent is not picking up that speech. It's missing. That's something that we've seen. So it's just like dropping packets or whatever. Like the voice detection model is not picking up that the user is speaking, even though it's speaking. So these kind of problems we've seen. Then there's one that the agent audio was not arriving on the client side. So for 2 to 3 seconds, the user was not listening the agent, and he's giving context, info. So that's also relevant for the assessment if that's missing. And then the final part is transcription hallucinations. So 11 Labs was actually using Whisper for a long time. And while they were using Whisper, we actually saw several instances of hallucinations. So the transcript was like completely fine. And then in the middle of it, you would see completely out of context, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter 3 times. And it was like yeah. And it's hard because yeah, sometimes it's very obvious because it's out of context, but sometimes it was also just hallucinating something that was kind of tangential to what the user was saying, but he was not saying this. And it's just very short, like 2 to 3 seconds, and then it goes back to normal. So yeah, that's kind of the problems that we had, and that's obviously the biggest no-go for us. So then we started building this QA pipeline, which basically allows us to monitor the quality. So what we did is first record the user audio, like what the mic stream of the user on the client side, and send this to our server so that we can compare to what arrived on 11 Labs side. And then we also collect the audio stream, like the agent audio on the client side, so we can also compare that to what 11 Labs claims has been said. So that solves the first two problems, and that's kind of what we're, like capturing as part of this analysis that we're doing here. And then the final part is the hallucinations, and for this, we're basically retranscribing the audio that we are collecting using a different model. So we're using now Scribe, which is a proprietary model from 11 Labs, and they use a real-time model for the agent conversation. And then they have another bigger one for batch transcriptions. And that's the one we're using for the retranscriptions. It's more accurate. And yeah, we basically compare the two, and we use the word error rate that you also mentioned, Alexei, to compare the two transcripts. So the word error rate is kind of like a metric. I mean, I can show it to you here. Oops. It's a metric for like how many changes did you have to make the one transcript match the other. So here, for example, no thoughts was not appearing in the other transcript, so that was kind of one change it had to do. It had to delete this word. And then here it had to replace the word idea with the word source. That was one other change. And then it's like counting these changes, and that's the word error rate. So that's the metric we're using to generally flag it. We used like a threshold of 5% to just generally say this is something that we should investigate further. But we found out that given the low quality of it, of the recordings, we still get a lot of noise in here. It's like still like 50% of the conversations that end up in this bucket. So what we ended up doing then is using another AI model to evaluate whether this transcript difference was relevant. And that filtered out a lot of this. And then we got into the interesting cases where we had these hallucinations, where we just saw that the voice detection was not working, like the user was speaking, but the model didn't transcribe it, and these kind of cases. So yeah, that's basically allows us to monitor this. We've been like in touch and already flagged several issues to 11 Labs through this. So this has been really, helpful. And I think I wanted to talk about one more issue. The agent is not always following the script. So that's another one, right? The agent is like an LLM that's, in the end, it's an LLM. It can make mistakes. It cannot stick to the script sometimes. It just interrupts the user. It's based on a voice detection model, like a turn-taking model to detect, while the agent is speaking, you might be speaking. And things like this that can mess it up. Like sometimes the agent thinks you're speaking, but you're not, and then it interrupts you, and then it might move already on to the next question, these kind of things. So the agent just like drifting from how it should behave. And that's also a tricky one to capture. And for this one, what we did was have another kind of LLM-as-a-judge model that gets as context the agent prompt, the transcript, and then it compares, did the agent in the transcript stick to its instructions? So that's like a slightly smarter model. We're using GPT 5.4 mini. And that was also like an interesting finding. I initially didn't set the reasoning effort for this one, and the quality was really bad. Like it was not usable. But then I set it to medium, and the quality really improved a lot. And now it's good enough And yeah, it also already flagged a few interesting cases, and also like kind of confirmed the kind of manual findings we already had from a few samples before. So this also seems to be working well. And now we have this overview where, I don't know, for example, this one is flagged as a failure, and we have like the different steps that the agent is supposed to cover. And then, for example, for this step, it said, okay, you know, the agent actually began asking the question, but then it was kind of interrupted, and before finishing it, it already went on to the next one, stuff like this. And then you can go through it and, you know, investigate it, improve the agent from there. Another thing I can maybe show you if you never worked with voice agents before is like just the interface of it. It's very easy nowadays to like develop these. So it's just this big prompt of, you know, where you tell the instructions. And one interesting, cool thing that they've also developed is these test cases. So when you see the agent kind of behaving off guard, like you can start adding test cases to it to improve it. So for example, for this one, we had the case that the agent was asking a question at the very end. So it was kind of hanging up, and then it asked, is there anything else I can do for you? And then it was hanging up. So this is obviously not what we want. And then you can write a test that kind of sees the conversation where it failed. It really takes the same history. And then you have an LLM as a judge again that then judges, like, you know, what is the expected behavior? There should be no question at the end. And then it evaluates this. So that's like a nice way to prevent regressions when you iterate on the prompt. And what else? I mean, you know, there's been lots of things that we discovered through this. Like another one was actually the browser has an echo filter, which is supposed to, you know, like when you're playing some music or whatever, and you're speaking, it would pick up the audio, like the, you know, the loudspeaker. So, and like it has to isolate that sound. But you know, this technology is pretty good for normal usage, but there's artifacts that this filter can sometimes take like 5 to 10 seconds to converge. And during that time, it might completely filter away what you're saying. And you know, these kind of things, like it was really, yeah, an interesting journey. And then maybe for the final part, very quickly, the missing part is now, like, we've collected all this assessment data, now we want to generate a report from it. And for this, we also use AI to score the participant. But obviously, you can't just write a prompt and score it on it, because every time you will get a different result. So we had to implement a methodology, and we came up with using statistics for this. So we run the model for 20 times, and then see if there's consensus. And that's what we're doing now. It's kind of the same way humans judge, because, you know, humans, when this is subjective judgment, right? Like I can give you an example. You know, in these assessments, like one of the competencies they're checking is the user asking for relevant, like to gather, is he trying to gather relevant data, right? When like making a decision, is he asking for information, or is he just trusting his gut feeling and saying, yeah, that sounds good? These kind of things, right? Like that's one of it, but it's kind of subjective to judge that, right? So yeah, what we came up with is like running it multiple times with these prompts, and then seeing if the prompt runs converge on the same result. And that's what we're doing here. Like we use a statistical approach. We assume a binomial distribution, like to test for statistical significance, all that stuff, and then we cluster like which quotes the LLM picked to support the score, right? Like they always need to ground their assessment with the quotes that they find relevant for that. Yeah, and that's basically what we're still like developing, but that's the approach we've gone for this. And yeah, I mean, you can try the demo. It's public now, and you would even receive a short report by email, like, you know, if you want to try it. And that's it.
That's so cool. Thank you so much. you did. Actually,